on sync with you. Yeah, I missed it. Hey,
I saw
welcome
you
back
trying.
to another episode of 1980s Now, a weekly examination of the importance of 1980s pop culture and its importance right now. Hey, my name's Will, and joining me, as always, are my friends and co-hosts. I'm just so thrilled to see them again after a long absence. Kat and John. Hey, guys.
Yes. Hi, guys.
Hey there.
Happy
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what to say. And at once, it feels like we've been, we haven't missed anything, but like literally minutes before I saw you guys on the screen, it was like, I haven't seen them in forever.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder, as they say.
Yes, I guess
Well,
that's
in my case, I kind of just saw John, so
That's
makes
true.
my heart
So
fonder.
She didn't care one way or the
Definitely.
other. Will, however, looking forward to seeing us.
Yes, I was. Thanks, Kat.
I see what you're saying, Kat.
Yeah, this is Kat that does her best what Phileas Fogg traveling around the world is from place to place, meeting people, recording in shitty locations, whatever, otherwise driving us crazy. Yeah. How's that contest going, Kat? Are you in the lead?
Oh, definitely.
Traveling by balloon, dirigible. Hey,
I would like that as part of it.
yeah, there you go. Hey, today's show, we're going to talk about 1980s pop culture, of course, including, and we're talking about some current news. We're either going to talk about current news that's related to something back, or something back that relates to something now, including our cocaine sharks, the new murder hornets. Maybe the new bears, I guess.
What?
We
can only hope.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Why Terry Gilliam rejected a Time Bandits sequel. And you're going to see how that's connected to the latest incarnation of Time Bandits that we have on Apple TV. How 1991's Deadpool is in a 1984 comic. I think that's cool. Anyway,
Curious.
breaking is the new Olympic sport. And I'm going to tell you about that time that McDonald's made an Olympic-sized blunder in 1984. There's time codes in the show notes if you want to skip around. That one is not in the Trello, so don't have to look for it. Just going to tell you a story. Yeah, I mean, I probably could have made it a true crime if it was more layered and interesting. And I don't know, I think it's pretty interesting.
It's a good time for the great taste.
Oh, yeah, that's what I should have had, like the
Of my
catchphrase,
Blunder.
like a McDonald's jingle ready to go. Yeah.
There you go.
What
You
was
can fix it in post.
Yeah. So, are you doing an 80s version of the jingle? Is that what it is?
That was maybe late 80s, early 90s. I think 80s also included It's a Good Time for the Great Taste of McDonald's. That was definitely mid 80s, I think, right?
remember.
Yeah.
We'll have to check with our McDonald's historian and see, but that sounds right to me.
Yeah. I don't know who that is.
Fine.
Since you have a specific order that you get every time, I would have said it would be to you, but
Yes.
we'll get the same order, basically the 2 cheeseburger meal.
It's pretty simple. Look, I was ordering it before it was a value meal. So
Oh, you just said give me 2 cheeseburgers.
I'm old school. And actually, it was usually orange drink. It wasn't Coke. So
Oh.
I said that last time it would have been a Coke, right? Didn't I say that? It would have been something Fanta or something. Yeah.
yeah, I got an orange drink. But
I got the rest entirely wrong, but yeah. Do you
So
think
did I.
when you go to McDonald's now, do you have a sense or feeling that the burgers and the food are smaller than it was in the 1980s?
I think we were smaller. I'm not sure that the food is smaller.
so Kat thinks the food has stayed the same, and we've grown to
Yes.
gigantic proportions.
Yes.
We're like Andre the Giant holding a little crystal burger. Arr!
Yeah. But when you were little,
I can barely
Right.
hold this Big Mac.
Yeah. I would not have thought so myself, but I've seen the analyses that suggest that the food's getting smaller. Certainly the Big Mac that used to be a whopping thing, but
yeah.
now it's just kind of just a double. It's just a double cheeseburger kind of. It's just
Yeah.
double big
Yes. And you use the adjective
with Thousand
whopping.
Island dressing.
Wow. We
yeah.
found online a way to make it at home. It's pretty good. Pretty
yeah.
close to it. You said whopping, which made me think of the Whopper. The Whopper's definitely smaller. I don't think it's just that my hands got larger, because I remember that's what I always got as a kid, and it was just gigantic.
It was like a Frisbee.
now-
It was
yeah.
enormous. It was ridiculously large.
And then the burger was of similar size. Now the bread is smaller, and the burger's even smaller than the bread. I don't know that it reaches the edges of the dough anymore.
Right.
about it.
Oh no, I know it does not.
That's why you go to Wendy's because they have those square burgers, and then even if they're small, you get the illusion that they're big because it hangs off those edges with the little corners.
It's sticking out.
So you can nibble the little triangles off, and you feel like it's a big patty.
Yeah, that's what they should have done. You're right. They should have made the bread smaller over the years, not touch the meat.
Yes. Once McNuggets came out, that was it for me. I didn't order burgers anymore. Or cheeseburgers.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you thank Marcus for as being the McDonald's historian before he gave us the information?
No, the information was already there. It says 1988.
Oh, shit. Okay, what I'm talking about is Marcus writes, it's a good time for the great taste started in 1984. The of McDonald's was added in 1988.
Oh, okay. Well, first he had said 1988, and then he clarified. Okay.
There we go.
Or
I think I said mid to late 80s. Bingo. I'll take my 2 cheeseburgers. Thank you so much.
I'm going to have to add a McDonald's jingle now and when I tell you that story later. All right. So,
Thank you.
all right. Hey, speaking of that, let's get started on 1980s news. Oh, that's not it.
Oh.
Hey, according to News on 6, whatever that is, wherever it's located, you can find us at any number of news outlets, but this is where I liberally, plagiarized their copy.
And then
Cocaine
gave credit,
sharks.
so it's all okay.
Yeah. Cocaine sharks invade Brazil. Now, look, we talked about this before. In 1985, we got Cocaine Bear, which is a Georgia Bruin found to have died of a drug overdose after ingesting bricks of cocaine that fell from a plane by an ex-narcotics officer turned drug smuggler.
Yes.
Who had his co-pilot eat a parrot before they took off in the plane. That's all true. That is true.
Hey, boo-boo.
Yeah. Now, that might not be true. You should definitely listen to our episode about our true crime story about that. I think it's wonderful.
When you're not driving.
You definitely do not be driving.
You want some dopamine. Yeah, but the real story, as you know, just what was it last year? Elizabeth Banks turned it into a dark comedy.
Yes.
Which was extremely loosely based on the events because, in fact, the cocaine the bear consumed killed it almost immediately and didn't send it on the murderous rampage featured in the film. That said, now sharks off the coast of Brazil have tested positive for the drug.
Oh, boy.
Marine biologists have warned
Carnival.
us.
What are we going to do?
And they're still alive. They did not die. This is very concerning.
Yeah. Now, this is the first time the drug has been found in the free-ranging predators. 13 sharp-nosed sharks were taken from the coast off of Rio de Janeiro and tested for cocaine and benzoyl
What did you just call me?
That's right. And I stand by that.
Them fighting words.
Benzoyl.
Yeah, your mama's a benzoyl.
Which apparently is the primary molecule in cocaine. Each shark's liver and muscles tested positive for high levels of cocaine, and the female sharks tested had higher concentrations of cocaine in their muscles than the male sharks. I don't know why they tell us that. Like, what does that even matter?
You know how they be.
Right, I know.
Is
there there's misogyny among marine biologists who are trying to create...
Right. They're in their boats. Of course, the lady sharks are taking more coke. Right. I don't know. Well,
Can't control themselves.
I'm gonna bring the show to a screeching halt. As I was prepping for the show, going through the list of cards, I'm like, is Will playing 3 Truths and a Lie with us or something? Because each card, I'm like, I'm not sure that's true. Is this a fake news article?
Yeah.
And then once I believed this one, I got to the next one. I'm like, well, maybe this one's a lie. It continued. So
is Eddie Newton
I could
on
just
the show?
picture
Eddie Newton.
I could just picture them. Like, how do you drug test the shark? Okay, out of the water. You go pee in this cup.
God damn it!
They walk on their flippers like the shark from Hanna-Barbera. I gotta go give a drug test.
Jabberjaw. It's Jabberjaw.
Yes.
Right, Jabberjaw. I love Jabberjaw.
Yes.
Yeah. And then then he had talk about what effect does it have on the sharks? Like, does it make them loopy?
Yeah.
Does it make them chill? Does it make them like, dude, I'm
Right.
totally not going to bite you. I'm having such a great day. They don't really say, they just say it's in them. So it's more like a pollution story. I was
Right.
waiting for the crazy shark story that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
We do have the results from the shark study, though. This is what the
Oh.
effect it has on the sharks.
This just in.
Uh-oh. They play
That was
music?
after. Yeah. Well, this is the before.
Oh.
This is the after.
Speed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess that's why they call it speed.
Yes.
The scientists dubbed the animals in this study the cocaine shark, and posited that this may show a correlation between a shark's weight and size and how it metabolizes cocaine. Don't we know that already from every other living thing that consumes drugs? What kind of bullshit
Yep.
is this? Anyway, how did it get in the water? What, John?
These marine biologists are looking for a way to justify their grant money. We also discovered that the bigger the shark, the longer the cocaine stays in the system. Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
You think they're just
Shocker.
trying to get the government or grants to pay for like a trip to Brazil, maybe?
Oh, to Rio.
And
Why
they're
not?
maybe they're on a cocaine fueled bender, and they're like, shit. We spent all the money on drugs.
Here comes the police. Throw the coke at the sharks.
Yeah, we got to get a bunch of sharks high to justify this money we just wasted on drugs and hookers.
Pee in the ocean.
Oh, they're peeing. Yeah. You know, it's funny you say that, Kat. Because, so it turns out, because they don't know, this study doesn't know how the drugs wound up in the water, but there was a show in 2023 that aired on Discovery TV called Cocaine Sharks, which is also happens to be the title of a horror movie that came out around the same time, which looks
Horror.
horrible. Yeah, horrible.
Yeah, horrible. Yeah.
It looks like a student film, the special effects and the acting. But
Elementary school student.
the 2023 documentary of the same name used experiments was also trying to determine how sharks might be affected by cocaine. Again, whatever. Anyway, the show looked into the decades-old rumor that the sharks may be coming into contact with cocaine jettisoned into the waters off the coast of Florida.
Give him another bump. Now see if he bites you. Nope. One more rail. Hey, he bit me.
One more rail.
Write that down. Grant.
So, yeah, and all this shit happens in Florida, right? Last time we talked about Cocaine Bear, they flew over Florida and dropped a bunch of drugs.
Yep.
But anyway, here's some of the things that resulted from that 2023 documentary that they learned with regard to this rumor. In 2021, a beachgoer in Boca Raton found a 70-pound package of cocaine bricks.
Oh, my.
Brevard County Sheriff's deputies retrieved a 50-pound block south of Melbourne Beach in 2017. A 1-kilogram block was washed ashore on Paradise Beach by waves stirred up by Hurricane Dorian in 2019.
Oh,
And a package containing cocaine was found by a Treasure Coast spearfisher in 2020.
Okay. And this is all in Florida.
Yeah, it's all in Florida.
Yeah.
Marine biologists,
As a nation, that's where we like to keep our cocaine, is just off coast here in Florida.
and speaking about people like, I don't know, having fun with these news stories, as you suggested I might, marine biologist Tom the Blowfish heard, that's his nickname, the Blowfish. Oh, John, I was thinking more. You're thinking that, I'm thinking.
The blowfish.
Yeah, Blowfish.
Hey, boo boo. Hand me one of them fish.
Tom the Blowfish Herd told Live Science he and University of Florida environmental scientist Tracy Fanara conducted experiments, including dropping packages that look similar to cocaine bales next to dummy swans into the water to find out if the sharks would take the bait. The sharks reportedly swam up to the bales and took bites.
Doesn't this sound more like a jackass stunt than it does marine biology?
Yeah. You'd have to be, yeah, I guess they'd have to be in a
Okay,
cage.
Steve-O, now you jump in the water too.
Well, yeah,
We've wrapped up Steve-O to look like a bale of cocaine.
Well, I was imagining more he's prepared like a chicken cutlet that you're going to bread, They dip them in an egg, and then they roll them around in cocaine. And they drop them in the water.
Oh, okay. We know that sharks are willing to taste just about anything. So I don't know
right?
why they. Yeah, like
I
they
didn't know
found.
that.
They're curious. They'll bite whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, they found all kinds of things in the stomachs of sharks. So
Are you
why
saying
not
they're bite curious?
yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Marcus says cocaine in sharks acts as an anesthetic while it is a stimulant in humans.
Oh
shit. So that
wow. Marcus is our shark cocaine historian.
This from
as
our
well.
chief McDonald's historian.
yes. Is that what's in a? Is that in the McFish or what is it called?
Well, they do call it secret sauce.
Yeah,
Ooh.
and Owl says, John, stop dropping lines in the water. I don't mean fishing tackle. Hey, another 1980s news per Cracked. Here's why Terry Gilliam rejected a Time Bandits sequel. And you're going to see that this is related to our current Time Bandits show. In their continuing quest, this is how Cracked writes it. In their continuing quest to funnel billions of dollars into great-looking yet wildly unprofitable TV shows, Apple TV Plus just released an adaptation of the 1981 fantasy film Time Bandits.
That stings.
Yeah. Now, John, I know you started it. I started watching the first episode.
Yes.
Kat, have you checked any of it out?
I just watched it today. Yeah.
The whole thing, or you mean
No, the first episode.
Oh, okay.
First episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're up to 4 now, and I've watched
they?
the entirety of the first episode. And I couldn't even tell you the last time I watched the original Time Bandits. So I didn't come in with a lot of baggage. Just like I didn't have Kudrow baggage, I didn't have any Time Bandits baggage either, really. And it all feels a little thin, except for the lead actor, the young man who plays Kevin.
Okay.
He is a gem. And there's like a heavy Harry Potter vibe going through his family in his house. A little less disrespectful, but certainly just as dismissive of his interests.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll keep watching it, but he was the strongest part for me. I mean, even the effects were okay. Jermaine Clement, who I love, the goofy jokes with misunderstood names wore thin for me pretty quickly. And I'm like, is this your pilot? Is this your best stuff? I don't know. It's okay. What about you?
I agree. He's so charming. The lead, Kevin. I am finding the other members of the cast amusing. No one is making me go, oh wow, they were amazing. And also, I watched. No standouts. I did watch Time Bandits a few years ago. And as we know, it was familiar to me, but going in today, I wasn't like, remembering all the beats. And I mean, it really, it's a reboot or a reimagining, right? I don't think I'm mistaken in that. But it's, I'm not turned off by it. I'm very sure I will watch more to see where it goes.
That's a rousing testament.
Doesn't suck.
It doesn't.
Did you catch some, Will? How much did you get through?
I watched the first half of the first episode, and I had seen enough, I think, by then.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I may go back to it if I absolutely run out of things to watch, but
Another rousing testament.
I've got Cobra Kai to watch.
Yeah.
So
I will tell you, the second half of the first episode is better than the first half. So if you're interested in finding out really what it has to offer, it's not until they get to Troy that really you see things start to happen more interestingly.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that's really when, because they're introducing the premise and the characters and everything. Then the second half is kind of, here's the actual adventure. So I'll say that.
I agree. Watch the rest, Will, and then make your decision.
Then dismiss it.
And then dismiss it. Yeah. Because Troy I found Troy to be the funniest part, the most amusing part, if you can get up to there.
The issues I have with it is, unlike the both of you, I'm very familiar with the original film. I've watched it so many times. As a kid, I had it on tape. It was a bootleg copy of it, but I watched it over and over again. And I watched it not too long ago. Not even probably it was a couple of years ago. So it was before we knew this series was coming. But it's pretty fresh in my mind, and it just lacks. I agree about the little kid. In fact, I read that the little kid's never seen the. It was Kal-El.
Right.
He's never seen the original film. The only thing he knew about it was a movie his dad saw when he was young and loved. And so he said it was a little weird to be in a film that his dad watched as a or reimagining of a film. But it's how I expected, including, I guess, a couple things. One, the main thing being that, there were some things they did that are very similar to the movie, which made me think, like, why are we doing this anyway? And I don't think we're executed as successfully as in the original film.
Sure.
Lisa Kudrow's fine, but like I said, I don't have anything against her. She just,
She's fine.
David Rappaport in the original film, who led the Time Bandits, there's something really, I don't know, heartwarming and charming and complex about him, just from the start of it, I think. And interesting. And
you're making me want to watch that again.
and the other thing I'll mention is, which we're going to talk about right now, is, I'm disappointed it's not a group of, shorter people.
Right.
I guess. I think there was something.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, were you going to say something, John?
You just made me realize, talking about Lisa Kudrow, is that really all of the characters, they gave each of them a joke. And they just kind of repeated that joke over and over.
Yeah.
Lisa Kudrow's joke is that she wants to be in charge but acts like she's not.
Right.
And
Every
she just
time.
keeps beating that same joke into the ground every time she has a line.
Yes.
I'm like, what else did you write? And they're all kind of like, they're very thin. They're very kind of two-dimensional. I don't think any of the characters have a world of their own outside of Kevin.
Right.
So far, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess some of the other stuff I have concerns with just come out in this story here. As John mentioned, Jermaine Clement is not only in it, but he also is one of the creators of the show. It was produced by he and Taika Waititi, who also appears in the series as well. But glaringly absent, maybe, or not glaringly absent, or curiously absent from the entire production was the original film's director and writer, Terry Gilliam.
Right.
Although Clement and Waititi claim that there's no bad blood between them.
Yeah.
From their side.
Yeah, from their side.
Right, from their side, yeah.
There was a story going around that he appeared on set and then stormed off like, this is garbage. But they debunked it in an interview, saying he never came to visit them. And they've never spoken to him. Ever. Anyway, it's not, however, the first spin-off of the film to have been pitched. According to Gilliam, after the first film, Warner Brothers approached him and said, we want you to do two more, so we have a trilogy of these Time Bandits films. But the deal came with one caveat. Gilliam couldn't include the original title's little people, Gilliam couldn't include the original film's little people actors. The Time Bandits. Gilliam's response to the studio was, quote, fuck off. Quote.
Yep.
Unquote.
Curiously,
sounds like Terry Gilliam.
No kidding, right? That's probably 50% of the things he says.
That's his negotiation tactic.
Curiously, the Apple show similarly avoided casting of little people in the lead roles, which had me, initially thinking, well, wait a second, was this still the caveat of the studio, 30 or 40 years later? But probably not. But anyway, according to the studio and some of the comments from the creators, it was to sidestep any potential controversy, with Clement noting that they didn't want to, quote, stereotype little people as magical creatures, end quote. Although that decision has actually brought on controversy, being criticized for removing opportunities for characters of that shorter stature.
Right.
Because as I alluded to, go ahead.
Well, there are some in the movie, if I'm remembering from the trailer.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, but I don't know what role they play yet or how many there are.
Right. Yeah.
You mean in the series, Kat? You're saying in the new series there are also little people? Okay.
Yeah, in the trailer it did show some. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that, Kat, because you're absolutely right. I did some digging and I caught that moment in the trailer and looked up who the cast is, and among those folks, and actually, let me see. I think I have the photo here to share with you guys.
Oh, yeah? Oh, cool.
Oops. Let me do that sharing thing.
Cerveza Cristo.
Is that every time I share? Or they stuck it in there?
I'm braced for it.
Share
Yeah.
screen.
I'm braced for the popcorn bucket.
Window. No popcorn buckets this week.
Oh, I don't believe you.
Oh, for crying out loud. They switched the screen. I just want to share this. All right, here we go. All right, so here is the clip from the trailer of the actors who are not of average size. Now, look, they said they didn't want to cast these folks to avoid them being stereotyped as magical creatures. The only characters I could identify, or among the characters I could identify that are little people, One of them, he's playing a character called Cherub, which I'm guessing is a heavenly magical creature.
Right.
And these folks also look like there's some member of some, I don't know, either either the bad guys organization or the good guys organization. But I don't know, if you're telling a story between people, heaven versus hell, I guess in sort of broad terms, folks are of fantasy characters. I don't know how you avoid it.
Right. It's not like they're Kevin's family and they're starting out in the real world where Kevin comes from.
Yeah.
So they're still kind of magical.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and the Time Bandits are not magical creatures. They're just people.
Yes.
So
yes, who are
I
traveling
don't get
through
that
time.
defense, really. I mean, just say we had a cast in mind already. We didn't want to be shoehorned into casting a particular height person. Okay, say that. But
Right.
the only magical creatures so far that I've seen are in the Jermaine Clement scenes. That's everybody else is normal people from history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The original Time Bandits featured 6 actors in key roles, including Jack Purvis, David Rappaport, who was the leader, as I mentioned, Kenny Baker, who's best known for playing R2-D2, Malcolm Dixon, Mike Emmons, and Tiny Ross. In October of 2022, while the series was still in production, Abby Grace, who's the granddaughter of Jack Purvis, who played Wally in the original film. I'm thinking, is Wally the one? No, Wally's not the one I'm thinking of. I often quote, there's a line in the film where he says something about, I'm getting, whatever. Like lightning struck me brain.
Yes.
Idea. Anyway, Abby Grace took to social media to voice her disappointment that no one with dwarfism was cast. According to Grace, quote, Time Bandits is the only film that's ever represented people like me in a way that isn't seen as a goblin or one of Snow White's 7 little men.
Right.
For a generation that is so big on talking about inclusivity and diversity, this whole casting choice just seems absurd.
Yes, it does. And as John pointed out, they're people. They're just people. They're not magical creatures. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hollywood and their tall washing.
Height washing, yeah.
Yes.
I guess the suggestion is if they're a group of somebody that they're doing this thing, and statistically you wouldn't see a group of just these people, so therefore they must have evolved to be that certain type of people. Therefore, then I don't know. It's a lot of things you got to go through. Now the folks
seems like a lot of machinations to get to that reason, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now the actors I just showed you, rather, it seemed to be a response to this backlash, because co-writer Clement said that they responded to the criticism by creating roles for smaller actors after the initial casting news broke, and said that should they receive a second season, these roles would have more of a significant presence.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I feel like these are conversations they needed to have ahead of time, which they claim they did, but I don't know how they got blindsided then.
Yeah.
Well, you know what happens with everybody everywhere is you have conversations inside of your bubble.
Yeah.
They spoke amongst themselves and the people whose opinions they probably echoed. And then once the news got out, once they made all these decisions, then people who didn't already see eye to eye with them, then they had their input and like, oh, we should talk to those people ahead of time. I'm sure they spoke about it, just not necessarily with people with differing views to see what their input was. That's kind of what happens in the world these days,
Yeah. Yep.
You're right. You stop when you found the one you want to hear. No, it's okay if you don't care. Look, I'm a dwarf. I have dwarfism. I don't know what the appropriate thing to say is. I'm a person who's of shorter stature. Yeah, it's fine. Don't cast any of people like me.
Right.
That's fine.
Hey, we talked to one guy and he said he was cool with it.
Yeah,
It's okay.
so I'm a 20. All right, hey, another 1980s news as reported by Time. Breaking is the newest Olympic sport, and I couldn't be more excited about
Woohoo!
this. The sport of breaking.
This is the next one I wasn't sure was true or not.
You were questioning this? John?
Like, is this on the Onion?
Oh man, now we're gonna have to do that one day. The sport of breaking, competitive breakdancing for y'all lay folks, I guess, will make its Olympic debut in Paris.
Insider.
Yes.
Yeah. But
I know.
it's crazy to think, but breaking's come a long way from its early 80s pop culture, from what people saw as an 80s pop culture fad that would just go to the Chia Pet eventually. But breakers, more colloquially known as B-boys or B-girls, don't appreciate the term breakdancing. We've talked about this before. Now, I may slip and say that, but it's...
I may
But I
too,
know.
because that's how I heard it. I was not
Yes.
a B-girl. I kind of wish I had been, but I heard it is breakdancing. Yeah.
Yes. The folks on the inside always call it breaking, and then I think as the media was trying to explain what it is in sort of a encapsulated way, they added dancing to so you understand it's not people just smashing things with a hammer. I break. Ah!
It's a good distinguishing comment.
Yeah. So here was my thing that made me question this. Not that I think breaking is not a skill and an athletic ability that should be rewarded and observed as the talent that it is. But it was at the Paris Olympics. We just had some of the craziest opening ceremonies of the Paris Olympics. And I'm thinking, what crazy stories might someone write about? And on top of that, they've made this an Olympic sport. You know, it wasn't that I thought it was ridiculous. It was that it's the kind of thing someone would tag on to all of the craziness that already happened at Paris. But I was happy to see that I was wrong and it was not a fake news story.
Right, yes.
Not fake news.
With regard to calling it breakdancing, Sunny Choi, a.k.a. B-Girl Sunny, said, quote, if you call it breakdancing, you're not a breaker. So there you go, Kat. You're not a breaker.
Oh, gatekeeping.
Incidentally, B-Girl Sunny will compete for the U.S. team in Paris.
Yeah.
Look, if you need to know why or you don't know why it's called breaking, how'd that begin? It's because, you know, these block parties and these house parties that we've talked about that took place in the 1970s in the Bronx, dancers would hit the floor and be dancing, but folks like Kool Herc would extend in the song what is the break of a song. That's usually instrumental part of it. Would break for drum break, you know, because it's just a drummer going off generally, would extend that ad infinitum, giving the opportunity for folks to be able to dance to just that plain old, you know, rhythm.
Yeah.
And therefore, here you go. It's the break of the song. It became the dancers who broke or danced during the break. So they were the breakers.
I know that now,
Yep.
but I got to wondering today, what did I think breakdancing meant before or breaking? And I don't really think I had a truly coherent thought about it. But when I was young, perhaps I imagined that it's because things could get broken.
Oh, really? That's
I'm
funny.
not really sure.
I asked myself the same question when I was reading the article. They talk about why it's called breaking and not break dancing, and why they, qualified it as break dancing or whatever. And I think I always assumed it was something in the middle of, because I associated pop and lock with breaking, like they were identical things.
Yes.
And how you're like, like you would, break parts of your body, during a pop and lock kind of thing. I imagined that. And also I imagine what I learned in this is called the freeze, where you can stop in an awkward position in the middle of your dance on your head or on your shoulders or whatever. And I thought of that as a break in the dance, like they freeze in these moments. So I never considered that it was named after the break in the song. So
right.
we both rationalized how it must be. We're both wrong.
Exactly.
Wait, what was yours, Kat? I missed it.
Well, I didn't have like a real solid, what did I think it was? I just always accepted it was called that. And I'm wondering, why didn't I wonder what it meant? Did I think it had to do with because you could break your bones doing this?
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Danger dancing was already taken, I guess.
Right.
So.
Danger dancing. I think it was somewhere along the lines of John, though, where maybe it was just a cool way to describe popping and locking and flinging yourself on the floor and jumping up again. It's just something to do with abruptness. Yeah.
I get that. Yeah, and I remember, because as we talked about, I used to do it with my friends outside on the street or wherever. But my mother was terrified. Yeah, you're gonna break something, or
Yep.
And I've talked about this before. I remember there being an article in Time magazine about it, and just happens, in this sort of loop, right?
Yeah.
Older people shit on the stuff of younger people. Message note to myself: next time I start, listening to my kids' music.
Ooh,
But there was a Time magazine article saying about how one of the repercussions of breaking 40 years down the line is these kids are going to have arthritis. And I was like, and my mother tried to throw that one at me too, I recall.
Oh.
Like, note to self, when you're 60, you're going to have arthritis anyhow. Don't worry.
No kidding, right?
You don't need to worry about it being exacerbated by a
That's true.
little
You're right.
spinning around on
Yep.
refrigerator cardboard.
Although breaking, faded from mainstream pop culture as the 1980s, as the 1980s came to an end. Competitions, though, continued. And the Battle of the Year, the first big global event, began in Germany in 1990.
In Germany?
Yeah.
I was perplexed by that.
Yeah.
I had
And
no
more-
idea it was popular there.
Yeah, more recently, Red Bull, and I didn't realize it was this long ago, but in 2001, they got in the mix actually sponsoring a competition every year, which I usually check out. It's called the Red Bull One, I think.
Okay.
But the International Olympic Committee, always on the lookout for new sports to attract younger audiences, added breaking to the Youth Olympic Games in 2018, and then the event was a hit. So in December 2020, the IOC announced that breaking would be added to the Olympic program in Paris, which incidentally is home to a strong breakdance scene. And this may be true also of Germany, because back in 1982, the New York City Rap Tour stopped in Paris during its jaunt through Europe, introducing the pillars of hip-hop to France. And there was folks who would, I know Rocksteady Crew, some of the other crews would tour internationally throughout this time in the 1980s, Dynamic Breakers or the Dynamic Rockers.
Yeah.
Similarly. And so that's, in addition to the films that we've talked about, it helped making it more of a global sensation than one that was just born out of New York City. In the Olympics, each breaker is going to break for about, and this is when we get to the medal, there's like rounds that get folks to actual medal competition.
Yeah.
But once you get in contention for a medal, each breaker is going to get about 30 to 50 seconds in a round, during which a DJ selects the music, not the breaker. And there's a panel of 9 judges who decide who wins based on 5 equally weighted factors: technique, vocabulary, which has to do with the variety of moves you use, not shit talking your opponent, execution, musicality, which is how you synchronize your moves to the music or the rhythm, and originality.
Freshness? Come on.
Right, they should have called it freshness.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
All of these could probably have some sort of hip hop
They could.
name.
Yeah.
Whack.
Do they give them like
whack category.
official Olympic names to legitimize it? I mean, come on, it's breaking.
Maybe. Yeah,
It
that's
is-
true.
It is a sport that I will call a sport only because it's now in the Olympics that came out of joyous dance and celebration. So let it have some fun. Let it have some fun names. I was disappointed in the categories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some
point.
blue hair made up.
If you want to check it out, the B-Girls battle on Friday, August 9th, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. And the B-Boys go the next day, August 10th, also at 10 a.m. Eastern. Now,
You got served.
I was surprised to learn that even before it's already aired, even before they've already competed in Paris in this Olympics, it's not going to be on the Olympic program in Los Angeles.
Right.
When the Summer Olympics roll around again.
It's perplexing.
Even though Southern California is home to, poppin' and lockin' in its own dance scene beginning in the 1970s and 80s.
Yeah.
Let's see what kind of attention it gets in Paris. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a long time between now and 2028. That could change.
I guess it could change. I guess it could. It's maybe not locked in
Could.
stone. Yeah.
Although obviously how much content they can include is limited. And some folks are blaming the NFL.
Oh.
Because the NFL has been throwing its weight behind flag football,
Oh.
which has already taken a spot in the LA program.
Which would I rather watch?
Yeah.
By far the lamest form of football.
I wonder if they're testing it out to see if there's an interest or excitement around flag football so they can, deal with some of the injuries, et cetera, they're having on professional football, maybe move to a less contact sport.
Oh.
Never will happen.
No.
In the meantime,
I picture my schoolyard when we were playing flag football,
Yeah.
and you don't know. First of all, you wrap the flag around the belt 4 or 5 times, so it's hard to get off.
Oh.
But then you're running, and then you don't even know the flags are gone. They got to tell you, come back. They got both your flags. You don't
spike
know.
the ball.
Yeah,
Do the
like,
touchdown
yeah.
dance.
And you look down, and I'm flagless. And
Flagless.
Someone's
Yeah.
waving your flag.
Yeah. It's not the same as getting pummeled. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
there's an immediacy to
Yes.
getting knocked on your ass that flag football will not duplicate.
That's a good point.
That's true. Hey, if you're hungry to see any authentic breaking prior to the Olympics, I'm going to recommend 3 scenes from 1980s movies. The subway battle in 1984's Beat Street.
Okay.
Fantastic. Also, the battle at the Roxy. Both battles, fantastic, and they actually are showcasing the skills of actual New York City breakers in those scenes,
Nice.
including the Rock Steady crew, which I name check because another scene I'll recommend is the sidewalk scene in Flashdance, which is about 26 minutes in. It's after this real goofy scene they have where they're working out in a gym, where Jennifer Beals' character. It's such a dumb scene, but immediately following that, you hear the Jimmy Castor bunch playing "It's Just Begun." And you see members of the Rock City crew again dancing on the street there,
Awesome.
including Crazy Legs, who is the breakdance double,
Yes.
break double for Jennifer Beals later in the film.
For Jennifer Beals. That's
And
right.
finally, representing the West Coast, I'm going to recommend Turbo's broom dance in Breakin', which also came out in 1984, featuring Michael Chambers, Mr. Boogaloo Shrimp himself.
I watched a video that Crazy Legs was in. He was being interviewed by someone with regard to the Olympics, the upcoming
okay.
break-in in the Olympics. It's really good. I should have shared it with you guys, I guess.
Well, and there's another thing. Why don't you have break-in originators and royalty
Yeah.
being the judges?
Yeah, I don't know who the
Or are
judge is.
they? I don't know who they are,
are.
but I mean,
Yeah, who is this Supreme Court?
by what authority shall I hold up my little 7 versus a 3 or 10? You know, how do you know? Other than that was very fresh. I mean, some Poindexter is going to be.
That was
Yeah.
a good move.
That looked painful, Huygen.
Yeah, I don't know. Crazy Legs, I think, has been involved in the Red Bull 1 competitions in the past. I don't think he's been a judge though. I've seen him promote it. I tried to get him on the show a long time ago, and he told me content is king,
That was the answer?
which meant no. He was going to keep it to himself. I think he was suggesting maybe I pay him, but I wasn't going to do that.
Oh, okay.
I see.
And some folks accused him of some alleged things afterwards.
Oh,
I'm not saying because I'm spiteful. I'm just trying to be factual as a journalist.
yes.
And spiteful.
And spiteful. That's also factual, is my spite. Hey, another 1980s news. 1991's Deadpool is in a 1984 comic. So while Deadpool and Wolverine shattered box office records last weekend with a $440 million worldwide bow,
Oh,
Marvel president and
wow.
CCO Kevin Feige made headlines at San Diego's Comic-Con. Have you guys seen Deadpool and Wolverine? No?
I have not seen
John
it yet.
did.
Yeah, I know John has. Yeah.
I've seen it twice
Oh, you've
actually now.
Really?
Did you?
Yeah.
You
I think it's
watched once
rewatchable.
for me, right?
Yeah. What's that?
You once for cat. So
Yeah.
amongst us, we've seen it thrice.
Yes, that's true. Let's average it out. What did you think, John? Did you enjoy it or like it?
I enjoyed it. I think it was about 85% of the movie I was hoping it would be, which is not to say I didn't like it by any stretch. There were things I was expecting out of it that weren't there. And then it was kind of offset by some surprises that I was not expecting, of course, you're going to have in that. But I don't think it's the best Deadpool movie.
Okay.
It might be one of the best Wolverine movies.
Oh,
that's probably true.
okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, yeah. Yeah. What about you?
Interesting.
Yeah, whatever it is, you have to say twice because you saw it twice.
I'll just record. I'll just double my track and have it
Double it up.
slightly out of sync. Yeah.
In stereo, offset.
There you go.
Oh, that'll be great to listen to.
I think it was a blast. It's a super amount of fun. It's not. I don't think it's the sort of world, and I mean canon world of the films. Or shift that they're sort of pitching it as. I don't see how is the case.
Okay.
But I had a lot of fun seeing it, and I would definitely see it again.
Oh, wow.
But you're right. As far as the depth of it, it's pretty shallow. But that's fine. That was fine. I think there's probably more complex and interesting Deadpool films, either one or two. Probably the first or second one, either one.
Gosh, I hope I get to see it once before Will sees it 3 times.
Yeah, I'm thinking about seeing a third time. Actually, I just got another friend. That's
It's hard to
interested in
beat the pacing of the first film. I mean, that was a near perfect structure. I've rewatched that recently, and I can't find a scene that I would have shortened or taken out. It was just like the structure,
Okay.
the way they jumped in time, the payoff. I just this wasn't that, which is not to say it was bad in any way. It just wasn't that. It was it was many years later, Ryan Reynolds taking the cachet and the latitude he's earned and leveraging it to do some crazy stuff and throw shade at everybody, including all of his bosses. And it's the kind of thing you want to see. It just, as you said, it wasn't the second coming of Marvel that I thought it was going to be, but it was fun. Absolutely fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe in the subsequent films there'll be some sort of payoff to this. Speaking of that, because what I mentioned, I was just mentioning a moment ago that Kevin Feige gave us some announcements that were equally as exciting as Deadpool and Wolverine's box office returns. First, he revealed that the Russo brothers, the two brothers who directed Captain America's Civil War and the Avengers Infinity Saga, which is the last Avengers films that we got, will return to direct two Avengers films, Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. But they truly snapped the roof off of Hall H when they announced who would portray the villain, Doctor Doom, in those forthcoming movies. It will be Tony Stark actor Robert Downey Jr.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
John looks baffled.
Yeah.
Just a big question mark for me. Yeah. How are they going to make that make sense anywhere in the universe? I have thoughts, but it would take forever. But
Yeah, I will just say briefly, we have the multiverse, and in the comics,
Yes.
there is already at least one storyline where Tony Stark is Doctor Doom. So
yeah.
Oh.
I think the bigger question for me is if I can buy Robert Downey Jr. as this sort of, as evil and dark as and heavy as Doom needs to be at this point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
He was so
Yes.
perfectly cast as Tony Stark. The man in real life
Yes.
mapped onto the man in the comics and then the man in the films. And it just
Yes.
works so perfectly. And the multiverse is pretty played out, I think. I mean, to dip into that well again. And finally, it just feels like a Hail Mary from Marvel. It's like,
Interesting.
it diminishes the loss of Tony Stark
Sure.
by just going, well, if you're missing Tony Stark, well, we can't think of anything new, but what if we get this guy back and have him play somebody else? It just feels artificial. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Trying to draw people back for Robert Downey
Yeah.
Jr. But there's got to be somebody else who can play that role and do a fine job at it. Why? Why does it have to be him? Yeah.
I think as John's suggesting, there's been a downward trend as far as the success of Marvel films. Last year they had a number of, I think in the last couple of years, they've had a number of duds. Deadpool is an exception for them, the first exception for them. But the inclusion of the addition of the, or bringing back the Russo brothers is also part of that. They had success with the last Avengers films. Let's just recreate that. Give a comfort level to the fans. We're just going to do what we did already. There's no one bigger than Robert Downey Jr. as far as those films go. Maybe Chris Evans.
Right. Yeah.
Reportedly, they paid the Russo brothers $80 million to come back for these two films. And although we don't have a figure, an insider was quoted as saying that Robert Downey Jr. was paid substantially more. Which is insane because I think these films might have a $200 budget each, maybe $250.
Right.
What percentage of that is paying for three of the creatives? I mean, whatever. Okay, I didn't plan on talking about the MCU because we're talking about the 1980s. Let's see, where did I leave off here?
Deadpool.
Anyway, from the comments that Feige made, because this is all going to tie back to the 1980s. You can see how marvelously I weave this back here. From the comments that Feige made, it seems that
Marvelously.
Yes, marvelously. Oh, and you remind me, John. Deadpool himself in the film says Marvel needs to be done with the multiverse. Let's be done with it.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh great,
I wasn't
that's
going to
good.
mention
Yeah,
that, but
let's get
since
back
you
to
did,
one
I
thing.
agreed. Yeah, he
gosh.
basically said what I just played out. He said, come on,
but
look,
that
it's not working.
At the end of the film, I'm like, I don't think they did what they said they were going to do. Anyway, whatever.
It's a crutch.
But it's based on Feige's comments at Comic-Con. It seems like Doctor Doom won't make his grand entrance until Avengers Doomsday, since we need to set him up for the subsequent film, Secret Wars, in which Doctor Doom plays a role. It seems like they're trying to. Whatever, I'm going to skip this part. Blah 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 blah. Speaking of Deadpool and Secret Wars, although the Merc with a Mouth made his debut in February 1991 issue of the New Mutants, Deadpool actually appears in the 1984 comic Secret Wars storyline
Really?
because comic books. Now,
Explain.
originally, what's that? They can do whatever they want in comic. I mean, they
Because
can and
comic
they
books.
do
Yeah.
whatever
They can
want.
predict the future.
Comic
Okay,
books.
good on them.
Well, it's
I like that
slightly more direct and slightly more clever than that. Released in 1984, the original Secret Wars was a bestseller. At the time it sold more copies than any other comic book in the previous 25 years.
Huh.
Even though it was a financial success, it was roundly criticized because folks saw it as just kind of trite and unoriginal and juvenile. And the story, in that sense, it's kind of simple. The plot is that there's this cosmic entity known as the Beyonder, becomes fascinated with Earth's superheroes, and creates Battle World, which is essentially a planet in a distant galaxy. Stocks it with weapons and technology and even costumes, or the ability to change your costume if you want.
Ooh.
And then teleports groups of heroes and supervillains against their will to compete, forcing them to fight one another.
And then televises it Thursdays on Fox.
Yeah, and I think the only thing missing from this, John, is the Gorn. Right, come on.
Yeah. Yep.
This is a Star Trek episode.
Oh.
Now, in addition to being a popular series, the run impacted future storylines. For example, Spider-Man changes into a costume provided on Battle World, unaware that it's actually an alien symbiote.
Oh. Oh.
Yes, it's a symbiote that it's the one that ultimately bonds with Eddie Brock,
Yes.
and gives birth to the villain known as Venom. When Secret Wars was released, writer Fabian Nicieza and artist Rob Liefeld were years from creating Deadpool. Now, that didn't stop, though. Cullen Bunn and artist Matteo Lolli from dropping Wade Wilson into the original Secret Wars series. In 2015, they published Deadpool's Secret Wars, which is a retelling of the 1984 tale that shows how Deadpool was intimately involved in the entire struggle on Battleworld.
Well, it's a big retcon. He wasn't actually in the original Secret Wars, but they've retconned it in a book
Yes.
that shows he really was. We just didn't see it.
Yes, and they explain why he's not.
It's the Marty McFly thing, right? He's up in the rafters. We just didn't see it. We didn't know he was up in the rafters
like in
until the
Back to
sequel.
the Future 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. He was up there the whole time.
Yeah. And in very Deadpool style, because, in the films, Deadpool breaks the fourth wall, and that's because in the comics he does as well. He knows he's in a comic book, Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the opening title page, which is the original opening we see in this 2015 version, what looks like the original opening title page for the story, but in red, it's scribbled over the title and says "Wrong Secret Wars," written on the side, and reads, "Back in 1984, all the big heroes were taken to space for a secret war, and here's what really happened."
Oh.
And it plays out in obviously a very Deadpool way. None of the heroes that he admires, who he longs to have the respect of, know who he is. He talks incessantly, making, tons of quips and witty remarks.
Appropriate.
Yes.
The novel's filled with 80s references, including, Cold War humor, standard sort of macho action movie, banner.
Yep.
And pop culture nods, including one I remember, which is how hard it is to get a Cabbage Patch Kid. And one really cool meta moment refers to the 1980s Secret War toy line. And this is where it really departs from the original comic story. When Marvel released the comic, Mattel released superhero figures that came with a secret shield that had a lenticular disc in it. That flashed, when you moved it, it flashed between
I remember those
images, different images that showed scenes from the hero's life, as well as an image of their secret identity. In the comic, the retcon comic, Spider-Man knocks Deadpool into what turns out to be just a wall of all these shields, and they almost look like video screens. So there's each one is depicting a different hero. Aspects of the hero's life, and I think they determined as some sort of artificial intelligence. They think that must be showing these images and it can predict the future. It's showing all of history. Deadpool takes one that's his and uses it then as a shield, just like Captain America, you know.
Yes.
And makes a lot of jokes about how, look, I've got one too. Don't be jealous of mine's got images on it, you know. That kind of thing. And as I mentioned, which I think this is one of the examples of how they cleverly sort of change or maybe explain what happened in the original comic, Deadpool finds the machine that gives them whatever costume. It gives them a costume change if they want. Mm-hmm. And Deadpool is the first to wear the black alien symbiote costume.
Oh.
Although he ultimately discards it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's suggested that maybe he tainted it in such a way that actually leads to it becoming Venom instead of maybe what it originally would have been.
Okay.
That's a clever bunch of little retcons. That's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, much like the comics, he's fighting for their love and admiration and wants to actually or much like the comics and also the films that are better known to folks, he wants to be respected. And so throughout this entire battle, he's trying to show his worth. And he plays a very important role because of his particular power of regeneration. He's able to withstand a lot more than any of the other heroes, and ultimately helps save the day. And there's an emotional explanation provided why Deadpool is not in the official telling of the story, which I won't give away if you want to read it.
Okay.
But anyway, I think it's pretty well done and clever.
Interesting.
And of course, I just tell you the story for SEO purposes. There you go.
There, we said Deadpool. Listen to us.
I Googled. I know Deadpool. I know he was created in the 90s. There's got to be an 80s connection. Let's see. Are you kidding me? Really?
There is.
Not at all contorted.
We've some comments
Yeah.
back a little bit. There's one from Owl. He was talking about the Time Bandits.
Okay.
There was something about the original. Gilliam filmed it from the viewpoint of the kid and the little people. That's why it was so charming and hit us so well when it came out.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
Does it make a difference that these folks that break into his bedroom, they're around the same height as him, although they're more mature, more experienced? I wonder what
They're
that
adults, right?
means, for the kid from his perspective,
Yeah. And then there's some about Deadpool here. Karen says, I have not seen the first movie yet. I was going to watch them past 2 weekends, but I had some trouble with the Disney app. Oh no. And then last weekend ran out of time. Well, I didn't get to watch it yet either, Karen. So maybe by next week we can be caught up.
Yeah, and definitely it's the first. I think I would say knowledge of both of them, I guess, makes these movies a little more enjoyable. The bad news is though, the new movie is filled with so many Easter eggs. I don't think anyone who hasn't seen them already or knows them, by the time you have, by the time you invest in seeing all those things to be caught up, the movie's going to be streaming. I guess that's the good news. Maybe that's the good news.
Yeah.
Well, and because of the wall breaking, it's like not only do you need to be familiar with certain movies, but you kind of need to be familiar with the politics around the companies that made the movies. In order to appreciate some of the jokes they're making, because they're not just talking about what happened in the movies, but what happened in the ownership of the movies. And they talk a lot about Fox and the change of hands, and there's jokes about other Ryan Reynolds movies that aren't any superhero movie. I mean, there's all kinds of all kinds of different things to catch every little thing. Nobody's going to get it all.
Their personal lives of Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean
that's in there too.
I'm telling Blake.
Yeah, yes, Deadpool says that at one point.
I probably would have gotten that one, actually.
Yeah.
I see Keith points out that other than the Spider-Verse, the only multiverse story I liked so far is the one they had on the Flash TV show.
Oh.
Yeah, I watched that too, Keith. I enjoyed that too. They even had Burt Ward. He says they even had Burt Ward cameo with him walking a black Doberman. Yeah.
Oh.
Is that right?
Right.
Yeah, that was good. That was the Arrowverse was great until it was terrible, and I think that's like I don't know.
Yeah.
Third season of Arrow and maybe the second season of Flash or third season of Flash.
I was in love with like the first 2 seasons of the Flash. I thought it was phenomenal, and then they started pouring so many characters in it. Yeah. I had the same problem I have with Marvel, where I'm like, I've not done my homework. I didn't watch all the other episodes of all the other shows, so I don't feel qualified to watch this season, and I gave up.
Right. Yeah.
And my biggest flaw, the biggest issue I had with both those shows, Arrow and Flash, is does everybody need superpowers? It makes it less special that we have the Flash or the Arrow.
Yeah.
Even in the comics today, they have, and for a long time now, they have the Bat family. So Batman doesn't even, it's so funny though, because the whole time he's always like, I fight alone. Leave me alone. I don't want you to get hurt. But there's like a dozen Bat people that help him. I told you not to show up here. But they constantly are bailing him out.
Since you're here, help me out.
But it dilutes the particular hero that you love.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know, whatever, anyway. All right, hey, finally in 1980s news, I want to talk to you, thanks to Ultimate Classic Rock and The Collector, I want to tell you about the time that McDonald's blew it in 1984 in connection with an Olympic promotion. So this could almost be a true crime, like I said, except it's not that very long. Interesting for SEO purposes, it's great.
I think I know what this is, but I'm not going to say anything. Go.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
I have no idea.
Does it have to do with Russia?
Yes.
Well, then please
Hang on,
proceed.
let me get to my sounds for when you do something that's right, because you deserve it.
Yes. Validation.
So in many ways, the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles represented a major change for the modern games. The sporting event had been long known for its financial losses, a lasting burden on the vast majority of host cities. In a move never seen before, the Los Angeles brought corporate sponsors on board to help shoulder the cost of the games. The decision proved profitable, as the 1984 Olympics earned more than $200 million, thanks largely to the influx of endorsements and advertising. However, one major promotion continues to live on in infamy. It's that of McDonald's.
Okay.
So McDonald's did this promotion. It's the concept simple, and one that you're familiar with from those days. And one I really miss these types of things, that we had as kids. Opening bottle caps and seeing if you had a letter or you won a prize or you spelled Coca-Cola or whatever. Love those kinds of things. We don't have that anymore.
No.
But in 1984, McDonald's had their campaign was that upon purchasing an item from the fast food chain, you'd get a scratch off with an Olympic event on it. Okay. And if the American team won gold in that event, you'd get a free Big Mac. Silver would earn you French fries, and a bronze would get you a soft drink. McDonald's believed they had a recipe for successful promotion. Commercials would sell customers on a simple phrase: if the U.S. wins, you win.
You win.
All right. It's maybe ringing a bell. I probably participated.
I see that happening regionally today, like in Atlanta. Like they'll do promotions that look like if the Braves, somebody hits a home run, get a free taco or something. I'll see them do that regionally. That's the only throwback to that I see. I don't see like huge chains doing that for Super Bowls or Olympics or anything. But it's fun.
Yeah. It turns out though this wasn't the first time that McDonald's had done this promotion.
Okay.
The company embarked on a similar campaign for the 1976 Olympics, albeit with less publicity. Then again, the company didn't have to shell out as much. Skipping that part. The 1976 games, which were held in Montreal, saw the USA teams place third in overall medal count. In addition to East Germany, the other country that bested the U.S. was the Soviet Union. Now, while the 1976 McDonald's contest informed the fast food chain's 1984 game, how they would run it and how things would play out, the future giveaway was most influenced by a more significant global event. This is where I play the music.
Oh, yes.
And then we would come back. Then we'd come back and you'd be very confused. The location of Afghanistan made it the target of several empires throughout its history. Kat feels like she just switched TV channels. Maybe you did. Beginning in 1813, the British Empire and Tsarist Russia struggled for nearly a century to acquire dominance over the country. In the end, the British prevailed, making Afghanistan a territory within their empire. But much began to change on a global level in the 20th century. And by 1919, Afghanistan was freed from the British protectorate. The newly independent nation recognized the legitimacy of the newly established Bolshevik regime in Russia, which had just taken control just a couple of years earlier. And this marked the start of a relationship between the two nations. The Soviet Union would, by having this relationship with Afghanistan, would be able to control its southern border, which is where Afghanistan is. So they provided economic and military assistance to the country. And they had a spot, that they considered to be a key in the Cold War with the U.S. The U.S. was, having influence over other regions in that area, and so this they felt would balance it out. Well, it turns out on July 17th, 1973, Muhammad Khan overthrew Afghanistan's last king, who, by the way, was also his cousin, and declared himself the president of Afghanistan's republic. And then, in a move that surprised the Soviet Union, Khan refused to follow Soviets' direction. So he ended those ties.
Okay.
He had his own vision for how his country should be developed, and that required ending the nation's dependency on the Soviets.
We are no longer friends.
Yeah. So in a move that would not surprise anybody, the KGB assisted in a revolution of Afghanistan.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Led by the Communist People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, which resulted in the murder of Khan and 18 of his family members.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'll just make this next part brief. Chaos ensued. Different factions are vying for power, control of the country. Someone steps forth as the leader, gets killed. Somebody else comes forward. They get killed.
Next.
Why would anybody want to step forward? Jeez.
You step backwards,
Who
right?
would like to be leader next? Step forward.
So and everybody steps
Stand
back.
on X.
Stand on X. Ultimately, this leads to the anti-communist Mujahideen. You've heard of those guys.
Yeah.
They're not nice people.
And in response to the Mujahideen, which are against communism, the Soviet Russia invades, or the Soviet Union, the Soviet Union invades the country. Why do I tell you all this? Because in response,
Yes, why?
the U.S. imposes an embargo on American grain in the Soviet Union, and, more importantly to our story, a boycott of the Olympics, which were to be held in Moscow in 1980.
Oh.
Now back to 1984.
Yeah.
Yep.
As the U.S. did not compete in 1980,
Right.
they didn't have any statistics, for how they would place in the gold for those games. So when they're planning their promotion and how much money they need to shell out, how much they're going to lose in profits, because they're giving away essentially, their main item, the Big Mac.
Yeah.
They had to make their estimates based on the 1976 medals, which we came in third.
Oh, boy. Okay.
And those were 1994 medals, and which included 34 gold prizes.
Okay.
But the number crunchers over at the fast food chain did not anticipate what came next,
Oh, boy.
because in retaliation for the U.S.'s boycott of the 1980 Moscow Games, the Soviet Union, along with 13 Eastern Bloc countries, boycott the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Dramatically reducing the field and the competition.
Exactly.
Wow.
So suddenly, this company who was rooting for us to come in third.
Have a Coke and a smile. By all means.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah. The U.S., as John points out, dominates, which results in the teams walking away with 174 medals, which is nearly 100% increase of the prior Olympics,
Yes.
and 83 of them are gold,
Damn it.
which is more than 100% increase.
Now you know why they call him Grimace, because that was the look on his face.
No,
during 84
don't.
Olympics. Why you?
Soviets. So as the games are going on and American teams are conquering one event after another, customers are getting real excited about these scratch offs. Oh shit, honey, we got a free
Going great.
Big Mac.
Got another one and another.
Me too. Me too.
Some 6,600 outlets reportedly faced shortages of the promoted items.
Oh my gosh.
As a result,
Oh boy.
and McDonald's has been discreet about the cost of the promotion, saying it was the most expensive in the franchise's history. Marketing experts, however, estimate losses in the millions.
Ooh.
Despite the good news, I suppose, for folks who like these types of games, and again, I don't think we see a whole lot of them, is that despite the financial cost incurred in 1984, McDonald's repeated the U.S. wins, you win food prize promotion using the same game piece format in both 1988 and 1996, and has continued its partnership with the Olympics until 2017.
Okay.
But where's my Big Mac?
Yeah.
That's why they made them smaller, in case they have to give a bunch of them away.
Right.
Costs half as much now.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something there, John.
Yep.
Got to shrink these suckers.
Shrinkflation.
Yes.
I wish the what was it, the Monopoly game thing, I think that didn't happen in the 1980s. Maybe we could find a way to tie that together, because that was an interesting story too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I remember that.
folks were rigging the game. Yeah.
A lot of insider craziness there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, look, I am so glad to be back with you guys, but that is the end of our show. So that's the show. As I
I'm
said.
sad it's the end of our show because I'm so happy to be back too. But at this point, we will thank our early adopters, Rick Parker and Karen Flieger. And I just want to point out that I got to hang out with Rick Parker at SME.
Oh, yes.
Super
Aw.
cool.
Picture of-
What's more?
I was jealous of that. Yeah.
Yes. That was awesome. And thank you especially to our Secret of Our Success level Patreon supporters, Tony Great, Nick Guillory, Matt Marino, John Henderson, Brandon Greer, and another guy that I got to hang out with at SFGE, Marcus Taylor.
I'm also jealous of that too. I
You
was
should
gonna
be.
make Marcus shit.
You should.
I am jealous of that. I do like Marcus.
We
And-
missed you.
And what I'm happy to say, and many thanks to Steve McLeod for upping his contribution to us every month to be joined our
There you
secret of our success team.
Steve,
Welcome,
thank
Steve.
you. Thank you. Thank
Steve
you.
went quickly from free to lower tier to the highest tier.
Oh my gosh.
We are so very grateful. So yeah, you
Steve
gotta add
was
that into
here
your list, too.
earlier. Yes, I will add Steve to my list. He was here earlier. I don't know if he's still here. Thank you, Steve.
I don't know, but we certainly are grateful. Hey, if you'd like to be a part of this wonderful team that supports us, helps us pay the bills every month, go to 1980s New. Just go to patreon.com. Go to patreon.com /1980s now.
There you go.
Now, if you don't have any money to give us, that's fine. You can join for free and see the kind of stuff that we do. But you could also share a post on Facebook. Please, this is the thing you can do. Tell a friend, hey, check out this 1980s. Look, you're my age. You're old too. Check out this podcast about the 1980s. I like these three people. They're fun. They're not too serious, but they're also kind of smart, and they know different things. Each know different things different than the other.
Yes.
Some overlap.
Yes.
Yep.
Pleasant.
Some.
Wow.
I met
All
someone.
of these apply to all of us? I'm going to say they do. Yeah.
I think I was trying to think like what could apply to all of us, because I don't want to leave anybody out.
I met someone at a campground, and we ended up. I ended up recommending.
Don't tell that story.
podcast.
Kat, we can't tell about what you did with somebody at a campground.
This one time at camp.
Please.
I recommended the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
She sounded very interested.
Oh, it was a woman too? Oh, Kat. Let's do it again. We'll just have this clip for the show. I met this woman at a campground once.
I believe what I recommended to her.
I showed her my podcast.
Oh, I directed her to the feed.
Yes.
Oh,
Something like that.
I never
why
knew
not?
that could sound so salacious.
And yeah,
Yeah. Hey, we got to do
my
whatever
best.
it takes. Hey, and also, speaking of doing whatever it takes, we will do whatever it takes when we talk to you next time on 1980s Now.
Until next time.
enjoy your Big Mac, comrade.
Yeah, what do they call them in Russia? They probably don't have I think McDonald's might be. Was that one of those places that stopped doing stuff in Russia when they invaded Ukraine?
Probably. Maybe, but they know what a Big
Oh.
Mac is. You know,
Well, I'm sure they know, but can they get them?
they're aware. No, they're jealous. They want one.
Yeah.
Oh,
I got scratch ticket. Now I need to travel to States to get free Big Mac because US won.
Must redeem.
huh.
Totally worth flight.
All right, you guys are still recording?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let me do this real quick. I forgot. Yeah, look, I was sad to miss you guys there too, but I'm so glad that I'm going to see you in just about a month now over in just outside of Philadelphia
Yes.
at RetroCon 2024. Go to retrocons.com to find out how you can get your tickets and come and see us. So far, it seems like we're going to be appearing or doing our very own panel Saturday, September 7th at 11 a.m. That's subject to change, but so far.
Okay.
But we'll otherwise be hanging around and saying hi to folks and
Yes.
Generally being friendly like we
yeah,
do.
getting autographs.
I'll give out hugs. Come and see
Getting
us.
autographs or getting? What did you say?
Getting. I said getting.
Getting. Okay.
Yeah, I want to see Lance and Catherine and whoever else, Lee Majors.
Oh, yeah.
They might be listeners. They might
Yes.
do like a quid pro quo and trade autographs out with you, Will.
That's true, right?
Lance will be, I remember you. Can I get your autograph too? Do
That's
you have an
right.
action figure? And you'd be, well, yeah. He's like, I don't either. It's all right.
Actually, Will should bring his puppet of himself that he used on the episode.
Wait, why?
So Lance can, you can
autograph your
Oh,
puppet?
no.
I'm not giving my puppet
messed it
away?
up. That made no sense. Never mind.
Is that a euphemism? Hey, would you autograph my puppet?
Yeah. All right, let's just end it there. That's,
Never mind.
All right, hey. That's it, right? Are any of you coming to VCF Midwest? I don't know what that is, so I'm going to say no, Keith. But
Nope.
what
Not
is
I
going
bet
that
it has
one.
something to do with videos.
VCF Midwest? So he really meant John. Is John coming? And then I would tag along and be like, I'm here too.
Here's my puppet.
Vintage sign my puppet.
Send your puppet.
Hey, I'm a puppet. Sign me. Vintage Computer Festival? Is that what it is?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Oh, cool.
It's this
Yeah, I
coming
would love
weekend.
to make that one someday.
It's this coming weekend. Oh, wait, no, that's not true. Midwest is September 7th and 8th.
Oh.
The same week as us, so that
That's-
won't work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
That's
is one
oh,
right there.
yeah. Oh,
Keith, you
Sorry,
don't need to
Keith.
go to that one. Come to Philadelphia instead. Come on.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Kat, I was thinking about because we're at 11 a.m. on Saturday. Like any friends that we have in the area, especially from the New York area, it's gonna take them like 2 hours to drive out there. They're gonna have to leave early. They're either not gonna do it and they're like, screw that, or they're gonna be cutting it close. And they'll
Like,
probably be the
I
ones
like
coming in.
you, but do I like you that much?
They'll be coming in, during it, and interrupting everything. People from New Jersey and New York.
And that will make it a funny talking point during the recording.
Be like, hey guys, I'm here.
Because we know that Jersey people always enter a room quietly.
Oh,
Yes, exactly. Right. Oh, Keith says we just need to convince his wife, and he'll come. All right, get her on the phone or
All
put her
right.
on the thing, Mrs. Keith.
bring her to the screen right now, and we will talk to her.
Yes, bring her now.
Go, Cat.
Tell her I'll give her a hug.
Totally worth the trip, by the way. So
Yeah.
just for what that's worth.
Life changing.
Yep.
Healing. John got healed by one of Kat's hugs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh.
I accelerated John's healing. Oh, I didn't know I had magical powers like that.
That's right. We could cast you in Time Bandits.
Yes.
You're a magical creature.
Are you 4'10" or shorter?
Eh,
No, you're not. All right. Hey, that's it. Right? All right.
That's
Bye,
a show.
guys. Thanks.
All
See you
right.
later.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you next
Bye.
time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.